Let's go live. Hello, everyone. Hello. I was playing a bit of guitar before I started. I just couldn't stop myself. All right. So good to see you. Cool cat. Hello. That's a really cool username. Reminds me of a film of the same name. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's uh, it's not a good film by any means, but it's a film you can watch ironically. You can enjoy it ironically. Um, Hi, Little Boots. So cool cat and Little Boots. Now we have a cool cat and Little Boots. I don't know. I'm making a lot of weird references today. Ignore me, or actually, don't ignore me because it's my live stream. So I hope you're not to ignore me. um, Good to see you. Hopefully, we'll have more people joining us later on. No, why are we here today? So last week I announced officially on YouTube that I'm working on what is my hair doing? I don't know. My hair is always doing something weird. I announced that I'm working on a book on the transition. I half or more than half the book is a memoir, actually, an autobiographical story of sorts, and the other half, or less than a half, maybe like 30% is more like my reflection on the topic of the transition. Uh, uh, been working on it quite a lot this week, actually. I've made some significant progress, and hopefully, I will be able to answer some of your questions today. So, if there are any question related to this book I'm working on, or any questions about the other book I'm writing, which is about a philosophy of technology, ask away. I'll be here for two, maybe 3 hours to answer as many of your questions as possible. Also, feel free to ask me any questions about the future of this channel. Where are we heading? And maybe some other questions about either related to the topics I cover on this channel, or maybe something completely different, something we have never talked about on this channel before, because I'm always looking to expand my horizons in a way. Yeah, I believe it's a third live stream of this kind that I'm doing. First one I did before Christmas last year, and then I did the second one when we've hit 5,000 subscribers. It's been going much slower since I've hit 5,000. I've noticed, but you know what? I don't really focus that much on how many views I'm getting or how many subscribers I'm gaining. I don't think like that's the main point of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think the main reason why I'm making those videos is because I want to offer something of value and substance to the people who are interested in listening to that, and I'm enjoying doing that as well. So it's a good way to spend my time, really, a much more productive way than many other things you could be doing. Um, I don't know how many of you are aware of the project that Richie Herron is working on right now. He's been uploading a couple of articles on his Substack, and it's on the topic of autogenophilia, actually. And he's been at it for some time. I think he uploaded three articles, and in two of them, he is also doing interviews with people. The interesting read. I would definitely recommend that if you're not following Richie's Substack. Go there and see that, because he's posting some interesting stuff over there. Right. So if there are any questions, drop them in the comments or something. I don't know. Where is everybody? Like on the map? Because in Norway, it's still summer. It's a bit confusing. It's sort of like late summer, early autumn. I'm not sure what to think of the weather, really. Like, sometimes it's super hot, sometimes it's super cold. I don't know how to dress when I go outside. And so, Minnesota, USA. Yeah, isn't Minnesota known for being one of the coldest states in US? If I'm not mistaken. That's just the association I have in my mind. How old am I? I'm 31 at the moment. Will be 32 in less than half a year. And actually, I had a situation this week related to my age. Kind of funny, but also irritating, because I encounter many situation in my life where people think I'm much younger than I actually am. And well, I don't really blame people for that, because I look younger than my actual age. And the use of estrogen has definitely made some changes to my appearance. And that's just the way it is. But yeah, I think there's a way to go about it that's just not so cool. So I'm going to this improv workshop where we're just doing improv or having fun. It's once a week. Going there. There was this one guy who just like tries to be very dominant, in front of me, because he thought I was much younger than him. And so when he asked me my age, um, and I told him I'm 31, he was like asking me about my ID and stuff. That kind of shit really pisses me off, to be honest. Like, I'm seriously not gonna be nice next time he tries that shit. But Alamadi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yo, just stopping in to say I love your vids, your perspectives, and your accent. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, mate. Uh, yeah, I don't know how unique my perspectives are, really, but I'm saying whatever it is I think, about different issues. I never try to like, okay, let's make liberal content, let's make conservative content, let's make trans content, trans content. I like, I'm just doing me. And I think some people will appreciate it, some people won't like it. That's just the way it is. But I appreciate that you're enjoying my content and you're liking it. Thank you so much. Uh, Cool Cat says, I thought you were so much younger, like 22. Yeah, I get that a lot, actually. When I was visiting my grandparents in Poland this year, because that's where I was born, um, I got a lot of people telling me I look 16. I don't know why. Like, when I'm in Norway, people give me 20, 21, 22. When I'm in Poland, they give me 16, 17, sometimes 15. I don't know. Is it because people in Poland look older on average, and that's the reason why? I have no idea, really. Like people in Poland can be like really really rude, especially older ladies. They really don't know how to mind their business. They have to comment on absolutely everything, every little thing, you know. mm. Hello, Jarek. How are you? Good to see you. Um, have you ever been to America? No, I haven't, but I probably will after I publish this book. You know, I'm probably going to visit America, do some interviews or something. It's very likely that is going to happen at some point. But so far, no, I haven't been to America ever. Either neither when it comes to like this business to do with the trends on YouTube, and neither as a nor as a tourist. But I've been to England last year to do a documentary on the transition by what was that, Jennifer Lau, the documentary on that, a film. Richie was there with me as well. We filmed that, and other than that, I have been to England many times. Usually to go shopping and sightseeing because I like England. Uh, are you single? It's complicated. Let me tell you that I've been in a relationship last year, and I've been single since there. Uh, I have a relationship going. It's just not your traditional relationship, really. Yeah, so something like that. Um, Jarek asks, "How is progress coming on the book?" Which one? So I will tell you a bit about the progress on both books, where I am. So with the book of the transition, I wrote approximately one third of the book at this point. And if I continue writing at the rate I am writing right now, or like I've been writing these last 2 weeks, I think I should be done with this book before March. But it's not given that I'm going to write at the same rate as I'm doing right now. But yeah, if I can keep up with how I've been doing these last 2 weeks, then yes, before the winter is over, um, I'm going to be probably done with it. I believe March is like max. Yeah. And as for the other book, the book on philosophy of technology, I wrote maybe 60% of that one, but it's on hold until I finish the book on detransition. So after I'm done with the book on detransition, I'm going to focus on writing that book as well as trying to publish the book on detransition. What is LGBT like where you live? Is it popular? Do they have pride events? Well, I live in Norway, and Norway is a super liberal country. Let me tell you. So yes, it is popular. There's a lot of pride events. I also think our pride events are a bit more modest than what you would see in, let's say, San Francisco or in many other cities in states. But San Francisco especially comes to mind when it goes to coming a bit extreme, maybe. I think it's a bit more toned down, but there's definitely like elements of kink there, and it's something I really dislike personally. And I'm thinking, you know what? I think that's if kink is so off-putting to a lot of people, and wouldn't it be better to make it like without any kink, to be more inviting to more individuals, and so people who don't like Pride might actually go there and start enjoying it? Because yeah, I would be open to it, but I don't consent to seeing that. Like my eyes don't want that. So I really think that there should be separate underground events just for kink and something more sexual, and make it PG-13 at public pride parades. I think that's a solution that will work for most people, really. And of course, no kids at those underground events, obviously. But yeah, otherwise, I also think LGBT community in Norway is kind of chill. Like, I have a friend who's a trans activist who I also had on my channel last year, and I'm going to have another trans activist from Norway on my channel in the near future, in October, so like next month. So maybe something to look forward to. I think our conversation might be interesting. Also, Cool Cat asks, "Do you know the D-Trans man shapeshifter? Do you know how he is? I am worried." Yes, I know. Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter was actually one of the first detransitioners I've met when I first arrived on the scene, like 1 and 4 months ago. Yeah, no, Shapeshifter's super nice, a super nice person. Love him. Um, he's doing fine. Just wanted to get off the public eye, take a break from activism and all of that. Just taking a break, but he's doing well. Um, Kink should be a personal thing. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Like no kink shaming, you know. Do whatever you want. I mean, one thing I really like to say, um, let's keep everyone else out of other people's bedroom. Let them do whatever they want in their bedroom, as long as it's between consenting adults. In return, also keep your bedroom stuff in your bedroom. Don't bring that stuff to the streets, to the public eye. You know, like I do not consent to say that. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Um, Hot Dog Water asks, "You're friends with trans activists?" There's one. I mean, for me, friends is a strong word. I have to like care about someone to call them friends. Otherwise, I call them acquaintances. I have some acquaintances that are trans activists. I have one friend who is a trans activist, going to actually hang out with him next week. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so great to have people with different experiences and different view of things getting along. You know, uh, it's not something you usually see in media. It's just so much focus on this conflict there, you know, like trans versus trans. I think, you know, they're trying to create a narrative that we can't get along, that we can't find solutions that actually work for both of us. And I just disagree with that. You know, I want to be the counter voice to that narrative. um Also, I love your videos, King. Thank you. Appreciate that. Lil Diaz, about Shapeshifter. I don't really think she detransitioned. She was just unlucky with the surgeries. Um, I don't. I'm not sure if Shapeshifter actually uses the product she. I don't know. So I use he because he detransitioned. But I think, yeah, I think it's up to him. Whether you call him he or she, I don't think it matters. The point is, like, I don't think it's up to us to decide whether he has detransitioned or not. Really. Um, the way I see it, you know, detransitioning it can be different for everyone, right? I mean, some people would say that I haven't detransitioned because I'm not taking testosterone. You know, I don't think there's one path to detransition correctly. I think that detransition is more of a mental state when you realize, hey, you know what? I'm not trans. I am the sex I am. And this is what I identify with. Everything else, I think it's more of an expression of masculinity and femininity rather than transition or detransition. Um, Jarek asks, how much of your book is about your life story and how much is about your philosophy around the trans topic? Mm, I think, well, okay, I think the best way to put it is 17 chapters are life story. And there are 7 chapters focusing more on theory and my thoughts on it and where we should be moving forward, as well as addressing things such as academic research on this subject and stuff like that. Yeah, so there will be like 7 chapters focusing on that. 17 chapters that are the story of my life. And I really wanted to write it as a story. There's like an element of storytelling. Of course, there's no fiction. It's not like I'm going to spice it all up to make it more interesting. No, it's all actual events. It's just the way when I'm telling it in this form. I'm writing it sort of as if I was writing a novel, so it's going to be very different. If you're familiar with my life story from my YouTube videos, and if you're going to read this book, you're going to experience it in a very different way with dialogues and everything. So it's just, I think it's a format of storytelling that I couldn't do in this YouTube video way. So I think it's really fun and interesting to do something very different with it. Cool. Was Alexander just unlucky then too? What does that even mean, Lily? Yeah, I agree with that. Uh, Little bits. We need more conversations in the middle of the two. Yeah, I think so too. Hot dog water. Have you ever met any of your fans in real life? Yes, actually. Couple of times here in Norway, although a very small percentage of my audience is from Norway, actually. It's around 1%. I think like around 40% of you guys are from US. So almost half of my audience is from US, and there's a lot from UK and Canada. But approximately 1% is from Norway. But yes, I've been stopped a couple of times. Once at a festival this summer, and once on a subway. It was a subway or a bus. Yeah, it was a subway train, and and then it was this other case where someone stopped me at a cafe. I was on a date there, and she came over to me and stopped me, and we ended up talking and meeting for a cafe and having a nice conversation because I'm a chill person. I'm always up for meeting anyone. So if there's anyone in Norway who would like to meet up, if you ever see me out and about in town, go ahead and ask me out. I'm cool with that. If I ever find myself in UK or US and I'm in your city, I'm up for hanging out, drinking coffee or something. Where was I with the question? uh Peter says, if somebody looks at you like this or this that a matter for them, but they can't bully in our I'm I think I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say. Um yeah, I mean, what exactly is bullying, right? I think people can have like subjective opinion on that. I don't consider that the situation I've been to where like someone was trying to utter dominance over me because I look younger. I don't necessarily think it's bullying, but I think that that guy was definitely being an asshole. Uh, Lily Diaz says, if there are places like Denmark where most of us don't judge the transitioners, I think everybody has a good reason to make a decision. Better late than never. So I'm happy for you. Thank you. Uh, yeah, I mean, overall, I don't meet a lot of judgment here in Norway, to be honest. And, you know, I had a lot of people ask me if I get a lot of hate here. No, not here in Norway. Like, most trans people I know are cool with me. I'm cool with them. I even had, after I first came out as the transitioner YouTube, I had actually some of my trans friends, some of them who I haven't seen in years, calling me and just being super nice. I think it's good to have experience like that. There's not much hate, and I think at this point, and it is something I'm used to. uh, I think that the only thing that kind of annoys me sometimes is people who, and it's always on the internet, it's like never in real life. I have good relationships with trans people in real life, but like on my YouTube channel, in the comments, there will always be someone who will comment like, "Oh, you just assume everyone is like you and going to regret it," or "Are you seeing it in such a black and white way? Go tell everyone how uh, the doctors pushed you into this and that. Don't You're not taking any responsibility." And it's like, um, you're taking like this accepted stereotype about what detransitioners are like, and you're running with it, but you're not actually listening to what I'm saying, because I've been saying something completely different this whole time. Hotdog Boy asks, "Do you think having an absent father can make someone gay?" Um, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Um, I'm trying to think, because I don't really think I have an answer to that. I don't think anyone has an answer to that. And I think there are people who would go like, "No, that is impossible. That never happens. Like, you're born gay." And truth is, I don't really think it matters if gay is something you're born or you become. It's kind of what you do anyway, really, or not do. Uh, I don't think it matters that much, but whether there's a possibility, um, perhaps. But I'm willing to entertain another possibility, and that is something a lot of people actually have talked about previously. Is that assaults of that kind of nature on the kids can make them gay. But then again, it's something I'm taking with a grain of salt, really. Like, I don't necessarily think that's the case. And I sort of had an absent father through my teenage years, because he was working in a different country, and me and my mom and my brother were living, right. But yeah, I had him by my side through most of my life. Could there be relation there? Maybe, but I'm 80% sure it's not. Um, Lil Diaz says, "Cook at Alexander realized he was not trans when it comes to his surgery. It's up to him to talk about his private life, not for me." Peter says, "I'd love to see you if you're ever in Australia." Oh, cool. Yeah, I would love to visit Australia one day. I was I was dating someone from Australia once, actually. So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, no, I would definitely love to visit Australia and Japan, like two places in Far East that I would definitely love to visit. And Australia is actually a pretty big country. So I think if I was to go to Australia, I would like to spend at least 2 3 weeks there and see the entire country. Like I don't think going just to Melbourne or Sydney would be enough for me. I want to see the whole thing. Um, Hot dog water. What do you think of a former trans kid Kim Petras being titled as sex positive artist by magazines? Does it spread a false narrative? Um, that's an interesting question. So I think Kim Petras was one of the first trans women I've heard of when I first started to consider transition, and I'm not familiar with her career after that because it's not exactly my type of music, not the kind of music I usually listen to. But the songs I've heard, like they're objectively not bad. Honestly, especially if you compare it to something like the song Dylan Mulvaney did this year, like that's unlistenable. But Kim Petras, yeah, no, her song's okay. But as a teenager, at the age of 16, at first, I was sort of skeptical about transitioning because usually only trans people I've seen before that were older men who looked like men who were transitioning. And I couldn't really see myself in that, and I didn't want to be that because my brain was like, I don't want to be trans. I want to be a girl, you know. And then looking at someone like Kim, at that time, who was approximately around my age at the time. I believe it was 2008, or something like that. Yes, okay, I wasn't 16, I was 15. Yeah, it was 2008. And it was like, oh my God, it's actually possible to transition and look like the opposite sex if you do it early enough, you know. And I think there's this inspiration and motivation there, like, oh my God, I have to transition as quickly as possible to achieve that same result. And I think, you know, that pushes this urgency to transition rather than taking your time and thinking it through whether it's a good decision for you. uh, so I think, you know, there is some negative effect of that type of influence. Uh, definitely. But you know, some people have a different experience and different perspective, and maybe will tell you that someone like Kim helped them find themselves and who they are. But that is not my experience. My personal experience is that seeing someone like Kim actually push the urgency of having this treatment. Um, when you get the surgery, do you have to dilate for the rest of your life? I thought it was only during the healing. Um, so I can tell you what's the official narrative around dilation is, and then I can tell you what I've been doing and what my experience is. So officially, you should be dilating like either 2 or 3 times a day for half an hour each day for 7 days a week. I think for like first couple of months, then you can reduce it to just once a day, eventually just once a week, or something like that, maybe once a month. And if you have a male partner you're having penetrative sex with, then you don't have to dilate. Some doctors will tell you you still have to. Some will tell you you don't have to. That penetration works as dilation. Um, I stopped dilating quite early on. I think like after the first half year, I stopped doing that, and I told myself, you know what? No, I'm not gonna be doing that. ever, ever again, no matter what the consequences are, you know. And if you go on the internet and try to read what can happen if you stop dilating, you will get results such as infection, death, and many other really, really horrible things. So I was a bit scared, really, but at the same time, I didn't care. I couldn't continue doing it, and I wish, like, I mean, ideally, I wish I didn't have these surgeries, but if I already had to have one, I wish I was aware that there is a type of surgery that only creates the external aesthetics of a vagina without trying to make a hole in there. I just think it's more healthy alternative, or healthy. I wouldn't call it healthy. Getting surgery like that is not healthy, but uh, l- you get less complications with it. You know, it's less risky, and unless you absolutely, absolutely, absolutely want to have penetrative sex with a guy, I don't think this type of surgery is necessary at all. And for me, that was not something I wanted, but I thought that this is the was the only type of surgery that existed. So I wish I knew that. I would have done it differently. But no, I haven't been dilating for 10 years now, and I'm still alive. I'm still okay. I haven't felt any side effects of that, if you can call it that. What music do you listen to? Um, you know, I don't want to be the guy who will tell you, "Oh, I listen to everything," but I kind of do. I kind of do. I can listen to some death metal and black metal one day, and then I can listen to something like Spice Girls or Lady Gaga the next day. And in the evening, I might listen to some jazz. I love some good jazz like Miles Davis and Chet Baker. I listen to a lot of rock, progressive metal, stuff like King Crimson, Pink Floyd, Yes, Rush, and with newer stuff like Tool, Porcupine Tree, Dream Theater, stuff like that. Actually, I've discovered a uh, Japanese prog rock band from the 80s just a couple of months ago. They're called Deja Vu. Really, really good music and no guitars, actually. And it's very rare to find a prog band that doesn't use guitars. It's just keyboards. It's absolutely brilliant. And I listen to a lot of like traditional folk music from different countries, like Serbia, Turkey, China, Mongolia, all over the place, really. And yeah, really, I listen to a bit of everything. I also like some electronic and ambient music, some gangster rap from early 90s, even anything that's good, really. Like everything from metal to classical to traditional folk music. Um, Lily Diaz says, I think you are brilliant. If you come to Denmark, I wish I had a pleasure to meet with you and talk for hours. It is likely that I will be in Denmark. We're very close. We're neighbors, practically. Uh, I would love to. I would love to do an interview with Marcus, uh, the offensive T, on YouTube. As he's from Denmark, so I would love to talk to him at some point. Um, Peter says, "You seem so wise for your age." Uh, well, I usually answer to it two ways. Either uh, maybe I'm not wise for my age. Maybe I just look young, or maybe I actually am. I don't know. Cool Cat says, I appreciate you for being honest. You're welcome. I think that's one of the things I'm doing the best. When trying to publish an article in Norway on this topic of the transition, and a friend of mine who's a rhetorician actually was like recommending me to change some things, and I'm like, I don't know. This just doesn't feel honest. This doesn't feel genuine. Like, I'm not the kind of person who will drop on my knees to kiss other people's feet and suck their dick just not to offend them, really. Like, I like to say what I actually mean. Um, Spicy says, most dangerous plastic surgery on Earth? Maybe. Is it? Yeah, I think there are very few plastic surgeries that operate on the organs. Like my tongue. No, I mean tongue. Is tongue an organ? I don't think so. Um, but yeah, like you're literally operating at the center of the body, technically, and it's not just the reproductive system you're damaging during a surgery like that. You are literally messing with the bowels and everything that's like around that area. There's a huge risk, honestly, and people say that knee surgery has higher regret rate than this type of surgery. I find it hard to believe, really. Spaces says tongue is a muscle. Yeah, correct. It's a muscle. It's not an organ. I just find it hard to believe that people would regret knee surgery more than this type of surgery. Um, Hot dog water. Have you done any debates on YouTube? Not on YouTube, but I did one here in Norway on Norwegian television or in Norwegian media. It was me, a trans activist, a doctor who works with trans kids. Who else was there? A mom of a trans child, and someone else. So I did debate here, and actually, and it is something I. Okay, I gotta say this. In June this year, I did a video on antinatalism where I talked about why I'm not an antinatalist anymore. Antinatalism basically is an ideology that it's immoral to have kids or to bring someone new into this life. And that is something I agreed with a couple of years ago. And I changed my mind on that, actually. So I did a video on that in June this year. There was someone, a YouTube user named a Cosmic Antinatalist, that did a video response to that video I made. And I recorded my response to his video and his criticism. I addressed that. And when I was about to edit that, I've noticed that my memory card on my camera was full, so I ended up I wanted to delete some files, but by accident, I deleted every single file that was on there, and that also includes a couple of newly recorded videos I did, which I didn't have the possibility to edit yet. So I've lost some of the content I recorded this year because of my own stupidity, really. And I wanted to give it back to him, so I will record my response to him this week, and I would love to invite him to my channel, because I think that having the debate on antinatalism here will be such a cool thing to do, really. So yeah, that's something I would definitely be up to. Spice says, so almost listed all the genres. No, trust me, there are so many genres. only country didn't mention. Country is actually one of my least favorite genres of music, to be honest. Not that I dislike it, or I would say I dislike new country music, but classics like Alan Jackson, John Denver. Yeah, I rock with that. Um, Even Johnny Cash. I don't know. Is Johnny Cash a country musician? I think Johnny Cash falls like somewhere between country and blues. He's a category of his own, really. Also, Chris Christopherson. Yeah, yeah. But usually, I don't listen to a lot of country music. Ham Popper says hi. Hey, hello. Good to see you. How are you? Thunders asks, have you ever considered making a video in Norwegian? Um, that's a good question. That's a good question. I would. I'm not sure how my audience would be open to that because I would do my content in English and most of my audience is English speaking. But yeah, I would be up to that. Actually, I've been considering making a video where I speak in all the languages I know. At least I don't know more of them perfectly. I'm not fluent in all of those languages, but I speak a little bit of that. So I was thinking of doing a video where I'll be speaking in English, Norwegian, Polish, German, Russian, a little bit of Spanish and Japanese. I've been learning Japanese for the last couple of months. It's a really, really, really fun language. Actually, it's been a while since I've been enjoying learning a new language this much. Um, speaking of languages, I'm also considering doing the content on the transition in Polish. And the reason for that is because, in Norway, it's very common for everybody to speak Norwegian. Like practically almost everyone in Norway speaks English. But in Poland, that is not necessarily the case, especially older generations. They don't understand English. And I just think, hey, you know what? Maybe it would be a good idea to make this sort of content in the Polish language. But I think I would do it on a different channel if I'll do that. Um, so yeah, maybe I don't know. Mm-mm. BBL is the worst. I actually don't know what BBL is, but I'm curious about it right now. You know what? I'm going to Google it. I'm going to Google BBL. BBL. Brazilian butt lift. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Why I've never heard of it. Uh, okay, yeah, I got an idea uh what that way is right now. Cool Cat says he did an interview in Norwegian. Yes, I did one. That was very early on after I first started making content on the transition. I was on a podcast in Norwegian, and I was on a couple different podcasts in Norway, but they wanted to do them in English because I make content in English. But yeah, I was on Henrik Beckheim's show in Norway, and we did the whole episode in English. It's 4 hours long. We talked for like 4 hours about everything from the transition to the role of femininity and masculinity, influencers like Andrew Tate. Yeah, we talked philosophy, politics, a lot of topics that we covered in those 4 hours. I might post a link on YouTube, and I was also on another podcast in Norway that is called Trans Norge, which literally means Trans Norway. It's a podcast done by trans people for trans people, and I was interviewed there as a detransitioner as well. Uh, uh, um, Cool Cat ask, where can I find that debate? Are you referring to that debate I was talking about in Norway? I think I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think uh, Littering. If you type in region Litteringkjønn, you'll probably find it. Might be the first video that will show up on YouTube. Uh, a lot of women's have BBLs in America. Yeah, that makes sense. And now I know also what BBL is. I'm smarter than I was just 1 hour ago. um, Otherwise, I would think it's like BBC, but in Lebanon or something. Uh, what was his name? Henrik Beckheim. That is the name of the guy I was doing the podcast with. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of those, and I've also done a lot of smaller interviews where some other YouTubers invited me to their channels. And so, some of those interviews were about the transition. I did also some on the topic of philosophy of technology, and I also did one video with someone where we just talked about like relationships and stuff like that. It was very chill actually. So you need a playlist of all your interviews. You know what? I was actually thinking about it, and I'm going to get to it soon. Because there's a lot of interviews with me that are not on my channel that I think it'll be better if I make it accessible to you in that way, where I put it all on a playlist, so you can watch them. Yeah, I think there are only two that are in the regions. The rest is all in English. Yeah. Peter asks, did your surgery affect the way you think or feel? Um, well, did it have a direct effect on how I think? No, not really. Um, Hormones did, however. Hormones definitely did. Uh, when I was on hormones, I've experienced a lot of brain fog, and generally it felt like I wasn't able to think clearly. My memory wasn't doing well. I wasn't doing well cognitively at that point when I was taking estrogen. And I've encountered a lot of people who've been saying the same thing I've experienced. And at first, I thought I was like the only one. I even been accused of lying a couple of times when I talked about it, that I experienced brain fog on estrogen. Like, how many times people told me like that's not an actual side effect of it. But then I talked to a lot of other people after I came out with my experience, and they've been saying that have been experiencing that same thing on estrogen. So overall, no, surgery doesn't affect your way of thinking, but not directly. But if it will ruin your life and you have to rebuild yourself again, that, oh, my friend, that will totally change your way of thinking, how you perceive absolutely everything. It can ruin you. It can also help you build yourself up again. But it's a tough experience overall. Yeah, one more thing I wanted to say about hormones before I move on with other questions. You know, that's a funny thing, because I have been well, of course, in my natural puberty, I was having testosterone pumped into me, and then I was on estrogen, And then for 2 years, I was on testosterone again after I detransitioned. And, it's really uh, funny just how testosterone changes. And it's not just the brain fog that I was talking about with estrogen, but just little things about you, like I get more emotional when I'm on estrogen. And I'm generally, I am a pretty sensitive person, like if I see some art that speaks to me, or listen to some music that speaks to me, or read books or watch films, I will shed a tear, you know. But on estrogen, that little element of me went from here to the point where it was just unbearable. Where when I'm on testosterone, I'm like angry, irritated, and horny. And you know what? I feel like myself when I have none of these substances affecting me. That's where like my mind is so clear and just focused. Like my brain is super focused when I'm not on estrogen and testosterone. It really helps me think. Like I think I'm just so much more effective at any task when I'm not taking estrogen or testosterone. I feel like myself. That's why I really at this point it's hard for me to tell you who I am, because I'm a different person depending on the chemistry of my brain when it comes to sex hormones. That's how much they can change you. So yeah, like which part of me is independent of that and which part of it isn't. It can be sometimes hard to tell. Uh, um, Hot Dog Water says, I like your ones with Richie. Are you guys still friends? Yes, I talked to Richie just yesterday. So yes, we are friends. Absolutely. It's good to have a friend who shares that same experience as you. And I think mine and Richie's stories are so similar to each other. I mean, I think there's overlap between all D-Trans stories, but yeah, Richie is someone I relate to, even though maybe our methods of D-Trans activism are not the same, and that is also something we have talked about previously on YouTube. But yeah, no, I love Richie. Uh, yeah, we did 3 videos together, 2 on my channel, 1 on his. When his book comes out, I'll probably invite him over to my channel again. And it's possible I'll go to Newcastle in a couple of months. And if so, who knows? Maybe we might actually do a video together, which is not just 2 screens of me and him, where we're actually being in one room and talking. That would be fun. Hot Dog Water asks, "Do you like Blair White?" Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with Blair. I used to watch her content much more, not so much these days. Actually, one thing is that after I started doing YouTube videos, I watch a lot less YouTube content because there's more focus on creating and less focus on watching. And it's just with absolutely everything, like um there's previously I used to work with people with disabilities. Now I'm doing freelance work, like translating, editing videos, stuff like that. Actually, I've translated some documentaries and films, indie films, from English to Norwegian. So that takes some time. Creating YouTube videos, and of course writing. And I just watch much less YouTube. I don't remember last time I've watched Blair White, or actually many channels I used to watch. I don't remember last time I watched them because I don't have time. I even I bought PlayStation 5 uh now in August, because I wanted to play the newest Final Fantasy Rebirth, which is a remake of an old Final Fantasy game from the 90s, which I used to like as a kid. And now it's with new graphics. It's all updated. They added to the story. They expanded the world, And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna buy PlayStation 5 and play Final Fantasy. I have no time. Like, the console is there, but I'm not using it. I started at first, and I'm like, I don't have time and energy for that. But maybe one day. Uh, um, yeah. Oh, yeah. You also said about Blair White. She's a trans YouTuber who has interviewed the trans people. Yeah, she interviewed Shapeshifter and Richie. Uh, yeah. Oh no, I think it would be really really cool to be on her channel one day. Uh, I don't know. I'm not there yet, but maybe after I publish this book or something like that, I think it will be cool. It will be cool to talk to Blair. Also, Blair is friends with one of my favorite people on YouTube, and that is Michael Malice. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Michael Malice, but he's been a guest on Blair's channel a couple of times. He's an anarchist, and yeah, no, just overall a really really cool person. So I'm like, I'm a fan of Michael Malice, so I'm like, okay, I know Buck. I've talked to Buck a couple of times. I've been on his channel, he's been on mine, and like Buck is friends with Blair. Blair is friends with Michael Malice. So now I'm like, okay, I need to get to know Blair so I can get to know Michael Malice. Uh, Cool Cat asks, do trans kids have shorter life when they don't go through puberty? Is it true? Is it unknown? I think we need a lot more research, definitely. And then, there are conflicting information out there because some people will tell you that puberty blockers is completely healthy, that you just halt puberty for a short while, you can always restart it, that it's only harmful if you're using puberty blockers for a prolonged period of time, right, when it comes to like skeletal growth and brain development and so on. Sorry. Couldn't swallow my saliva there. And then there's information that will tell you, about all the health complications associated with the use of puberty blockers. Well, I don't know if they live shorter, but I can tell you that early use of puberty blockers is not good for your health. Generally, hormonal replacement therapy is not good for your health. And I wish it was, because there's a lot of people out there who are taking those medications, and I don't want bad things to happen to people, and I don't want people to suffer from side effects. And there's been so many transgender, transsexual individuals who have stopped taking hormones because of health concerns or health problems. It's like, it's happening. And I wish we had developed a method that is safer, that doesn't have side effects, and that is more easily reversible. Because I think, in the future, if we're going to see more of people who regret that decision, if we can develop science and technology far enough so that it is fully reversible, I think that will be a move in the right direction, definitely. Emily asks, do you consider yourself androgynous? Oh, do I look androgynous? Yeah, definitely. Do I consider myself that? I usually don't necessarily use that word, but in some way, yeah, you could say that. I definitely, I because when I think of identify or consider myself, I'm more thinking of like personality wise. Because when it comes to appearance, like the way I look after I transitioned, after all the treatment I had, like, it's not necessarily up to me. to decide. And there are things with testosterone I don't like being on, even though, yeah, I guess I would like to develop some more masculine features. Not only to look more manly, but to look older. It's just so people can take me more seriously. That yeah, definitely. But I don't think it's worth all the hustle, to be honest. And when it comes to like my personality, I think I'm someone who has some masculine personality traits and some feminine masculinity traits, and I think I balance the two, which is I think it's part of the reason why I get along with both genders really, and a lot of my friends are women actually. Maybe like 70-80% of the people I'm hanging out are women. I get along with women so fabulously. Uh, uh, um, Pascan says hello. Yes, hello. Good to see you. Uh, um, Emily is not necessarily non-binary. Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a big difference between non-binary and androgynous. Although personally, I don't think there is such a thing as non-binary, but I also think that it can help some people identify with something that means they don't have to go all the way. And like, I'm not a big fan of this old type of thinking that to transition means to take hormones and have these and these surgeries. There was like this old pathway that leads people to the steps they have to take to transition. These days, people are like, you know what? I don't need to take hormones. I don't need to take surgeries. I identify as a woman, even though I was born in a male body. And some gender critical people will tell you that, or even people who are like accepting of trans people will tell you, well, if you want to be trans, you need to look the part, right? People who are not passing, they will tell them like, no, you're not real trans because you're not passing. And I'm thinking, I actually have a different view on that, because I'm thinking, well, those are the people that maybe are not going to have surgeries or take hormones, and so we're going to see less complications associated with that in the future, which I think is a good thing overall. So I say, when it comes to those treatment and those surgeries, you can't actually become the opposite sex. You can never do that with the technology we have available today. So, sure, why not say, yeah, I'm just a woman because I identify as such. I think in some ways it's more healthy, actually. Cool Cat asks, what do you think of non binary people? Um, I'm going to do a video on this topic in near future. So the things I said in this video and some things I said previously, they might be a bit of a sneak peek into that video. But yeah, expect a video on non-binary within like the next month or so, because I'm doing a video on that topic. The philological bell says, "Oh hey, glad to catch you live. Hello, glad you're here. Your content has been super interesting and insightful. Thanks, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. And you're welcome." And here we have another person from Minnesota. So we have two people from Minnesota on this live stream. A lot of people actually compare Minnesota's weather to Norway. Uh, it makes sense. They're both kind of cold. Well, our weather is exactly the same right now. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like, Norway is just like a really big Minnesota. If you make Minnesota and the whole country, that's basically what Norway is. Hampo says I'm from Colorado. Nice, nice. And I've never been to any state actually. Uh, Cool Cat says there's a rap song that is about Minnesota being called. Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about. Is it? I don't remember the name of this rapper. Is it the one that has this really high pitched voice and a music video? It's like on the ice hockey ring stadium, something like that. That's what I remember. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I was correct. Yeah, because I think that's the only rap song about Minnesota I'm familiar with. How representative of Minnesota is that song? um, the Philological Bell asks, "Oh, I had meant to ask. Did you end up setting up the organization you talked about in a video?" No. And actually, I have considered making a follow-up video on that. Why I decided not to do that, but then I forgot it, and then a lot of time has passed, and I was thinking, okay, it's too late to talk about it anyway. But okay, let me tell you. So I really wanted to start an organization for the transitioners in Norway, where I live. And I've know some detransitioners personally, and a lot of them didn't want to be a part of it, mostly because they like want to stay in the shadows, hidden. And there were some who were also working on certain projects, and they didn't want to be associated with that. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool with that, no problem. And so I got a lot of other people calling me, messaging me about wanting to be part of this organization, and some of those people were like very conservative, very far to the right, and some of them wanted to actually destroy LGBT organizations. And I don't know, like someone said something, but the rumors started spreading that I was about to start an organization that was going to fight against those LGBT organizations, which wasn't really the point of organization at all. I did it because I really wanted there to be a place for the transitioners, and I think it's important to have an organization that gives us the voice, and that helps gives us a better healthcare. I think it's important to inform therapists about the issues we are facing as the transitioners. Like that's what I was concerned with, but I was met with a lot of people who were making it very political. And that if it's a detrans organization, but 90% of the members are not detransitioners, but just anti-LGBT folks. It's like, that's not what I wanted to do. So no, there is no organization at the moment. But if I ever, get united with like-minded people in Norway to create this sort of organization, that will be a thing. But I don't see it happening in the near future. Besides, Norway is a country that's very long geographically, so it's so easy that you'll meet someone who also had a similar experience, and they live at the other end of the country, and it's sort of hard to organize anything like meetings and stuff like that. And there are a few of us, right? I mean, trans people are already a minority, and we as detransitioners are a minority within the minority. So yeah, I really don't see it happening right now. I hope eventually, at some point. I think that will be nice. I think there's definitely a need for that. Mm-mm. Pascan says, "I think you're cute." Thank you. uh, I don't know. I'm so bad at receiving compliments, actually. um, the philological bias, because if so, I'd like to help out. Where are you? In what country? Because if it's impossible to create a detrans organization, um, for me here in Norway, I think doing something international could be an alternative. Because I know there are some organization out there like Genspect, right? But I don't think there's like a lot of organizations that are like run by detransitioners. Mm-mm. Do you get a lot of hate on the internet? Um, Hate? No. Annoying comments sometimes. Usually by people who don't really know what I stand for, but assume things about me. But other than that, nah, not much hate. And again, depends on what you identify as hate, right? Because I also think that's uh, very very subjective, like hate speech, right? Like, how do you define hate speech? What is hate speech to one person might not be hate speech to another person. But I think I did a video on Sasha White's channel a couple of months ago. I was on her channel, and if you go on that video and go to the comment sections, the whole comment section is actually full of people telling me I'm stupid and I deserve that. What happened to me? Zero empathy. What a moron. you know, Stuff like that. I think it's kind of entertaining to read like that, stuff like that. Like if you don't take it too seriously, because that's why that's part of the reason why I wouldn't recommend being out public about stuff like that unless you're 100% sure, you know unless you're doing it because you have something to say that you think might change how things are for now. If you want to make a change, sure, go on YouTube. But otherwise, I think it's healthy for a lot of people to keep their life personal. And if you have a need to talk about your detransition, talk with people you trust. Like the internet is just such a dark place, So unless you can handle it, uh, don't do it. Even though I think there is a need for more detransitioners to speak openly and publicly, I think it inspires others to also be more open. So I also think it's important, but I also think that individual mental health is more important than that. But speaking of more detransitioners speaking out, I actually think that is also part of the reasons why we are seeing more detransitioners. Like, are are there actually more people detransitioning today than in the past, or are we just more open? Because we sort of started seeing the same thing with gay and trans identity previously, right? Where that percentage rose because people felt more comfortable to talk about their gay and trans identity. And I really think that the same thing is happening with D-trans. Like, we are no longer in the shadows or in the closet. We're like in the open when we talk about our experiences. And I think that in the future, if it'll be even more acceptable to talk about it, if there would not be this sort of backlash we are meeting today, we'll be seeing more people being open about their detrans status in the future, actually. The philological bell, I hear you. I want to start a more moderate balance group to help trans folks, but I'm also really worried about black backlash and public scrutiny. Um, send me an email. Um, there's the email on my YouTube channel and the description of my channel, like about me or something like that. You can find my email if you want to tell me more about this organization. You want to start? Yeah, go ahead and send me an email. I would like to hear more about it. I can't promise that I will have time and it will be available to get anything done. But yeah, I think it will be interesting. It's just like I'm so focused on the writing projects right now that actually, in some ways, I'm glad I didn't start that organization, because that will be even more things to focus right now on. And I think I'm like at the limit of my capacity at the moment, really. Ham Popper says, yeah, I feel that detransitioner are just as important as transitioners. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a big overlap between our experiences, even though they are different. Like, I don't think we're that different. Like, it's like a difference between a guy and a bisexual in a way. That's the sort of difference I see between a trans person and a detransitioner. Mm. Love your channel. White says, "Love your channel, man. Keep up the great work." Thank you. We'll do that. Cool Cat asks or says, "I definitely think it has existed longer than people think." Yeah, I mean, I think that the transition existed as long as transition has existed. Like, since it became possible to medically transition, I think the first detransitioner arrived a couple of years later, maybe max 1 decade later. No longer than that. And it's also an interesting thing, right? Because if you look at the research of like what percentage of people are detransitioning, um, it's important to notice that the percentage of detransitioners is sort of delayed compared to transitions, because on average it might take 7 years for someone to detransition. So the stats we're seeing today, how many of the people who are trans now will detransition? The today's stats won't tell you anything, because you have to wait a couple of years for that. Paskin says, I think that's what turns a lot of people off of seeing those parades and the way people are portraying themselves. Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I was like considering going to pride parades, and I have friends who do. I have friends who like that, but you know, I'm like, mm, I don't like seeing sexual stuff, to be honest. Like, I'm not even comfortable with watching pornography on the internet, because I feel like I'm standing outside someone's window and watching strangers have a go at it, which just feels very weird to me. Why would you want to watch strangers have sex? I don't know. Some people like it. I don't. But I just, if I was to go to a pride parade, I see people on the leashes and stuff like that. Like, that's not something my eyes want to see. Like, so I don't go there. But I was actually considering forcing myself to do that maybe next year, because I would like to interview some people at the Pride Parade next year, specifically on the subject. Like, should Pride parades be sexually explicit? Should they be PG-13? And just see what people there think about it, what their opinions are. So yeah. And speaking of interviews, actually, I'm considering going to a uni and ask some students questions about like how many genders are there, or maybe even about things like whether universities should have monopoly on higher education and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know if you would like to see this sort of content in the future, because yeah, I think I would love to walk around and ask people questions, annoy the shit out of them. uh, uh, um. Eirik Ramsley says, "Hello, my fellow Norwegian. Have you thought about going on the Wolfgang the podcast? Love the one you did with Celia. Thank you. Actually, I'm not in the region, but I lived here for 15 years. So I don't know how much I qualify for Norwegian at this point. About 40% Norwegian, or so something like that. I think culturally I'm pretty Norwegian at this point. So like, let's go with that. It will be kind of cool. I think it will be cool. But I'm never the kind of person who knocks on people's doors and like, hey, have me on your show, have me on your channel, have me on your podcast. Like, if someone invites me, that's great. And yeah, I would definitely like to be on Wolfgang's show or podcast. A friend of mine was on that podcast, actually, a Norwegian philosopher, Ole Martin Moen. Yeah, really, really interesting guy. So he was on that podcast. I wanted to have Moen on my channel to talk about bioethics and transhumanism, and how kids at school are being neglected, like their needs being neglected. He actually wrote a book about that. Very interesting subject. But he's super busy, so he didn't have time. But I hope to have him on my channel at some point in the future. Mm-mm. Did you used to have addiction to pee? I heard you say in an interview you used to have an addiction to it. Can you talk about that? So, um, yeah, I used to be addicted to painkillers first and foremost, and also quetiapine. I think in America it's called Seroquel. So yeah, that was a couple of years ago now. Oh my god, I haven't taken any in 4 years now, actually, which seems crazy, right? And I think when it comes to Seroquel, it's more of a psychological addiction than a physical addiction, right? Because there are some drugs that you are uh, addicted to on physical level, and those are super super hard to come over. Like there are some that you actually need to take because your body literally needs it. A good thing is it's not like that with Seroquel, but that doesn't mean that psychological addiction is is easy to overcome by any means. Yeah, I think something like a lot of food addictions, they're mostly psychological, right? And people have really, really big issues with overcoming their food addictions. And I think it's very similar to that. Actually, I'm also considering doing a video on addiction in near future, and like tips and advice on how to actually overcome that in a healthy way. Uh, 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 uh. Yes, please like these videos. Stig Evans says, sounds like a fun idea to visit unis and ask about gender-related issues. Yeah, I really think I should do that very, very soon, actually. Yeah. Where were you born? I was born in Poland, in northwest in Poland, actually. Very, very, very close to the beach, like the Baltic Sea. The house we lived at, where I was born, was like 5 minutes away from the beach. So I've spent a lot of my childhood there, just looking at the waves and the ships in the distance sailing, things like that. Actually, that's one of the first sceneries I describe in my book, in my memoir that I'm working on. So yeah, that's a bit of a spoiler, but because it's so early in the book, like yeah, it's okay. um, oh yeah, I already answered this question. Eric says 40% is good enough. Thunders ask, "What is your Norwegian dialect? If you are comfortable sharing, I'm Norwegian too." So here's the thing, right? Because I was born in Poland and I spent the first 16 years of my life there, and because I've learned English very early on, so I was always like speaking English and Polish from early childhood. There will be a lot of influence from Polish and British English in my dialect. And then, I lived in Norway for 15 years. And honestly, I think, like, at first, like, the first few years, I was talking, speaking like regional dialect, which was southeast Norway, where most people in Norway live. Actually, like, this is where I'm at. Um, but as I was meeting people from other regions in the country, like Stavanger and Trondheim, I've actually like borrowed some of those elements, so I speak like this weird mix of Bokmål and Nynorsk, which like are two different variants of Norwegian to those who are unaware of that. So yeah, no, I'm someone who I adapt other people's way of speaking in their dialects very easily. So if I hang out and I'm around a lot of people very often who speak a certain way, I will adapt that element into my speech and into my accent. So it's like my accent and dialect is ever evolving in a way. And it's different today than it was 5 years ago, and very much different from how it was 10 years ago. And I believe my accent will be different 10 years from now. So yeah, that's pretty much how I work. um, I was talking about epigraphy. I'm sorry if I might be confused. You said before you had the surgery. Oh, sorry. I thought that by P you meant painkillers because that's what I was addicted to. So my brain has automatically assumed you were talking about painkillers. No, I was never addicted to corn. Actually, um, I've tried watching it as a kid, or no, not as a kid. Gosh, no, not as a kid. Like in my late teens. I tried watching it in hope that it will help me figure out my sexuality, who I'm more attracted to, men or women. And honestly, like, uh, porn disturbed me. Like, I found it. I found it just weird and scary, to be honest. And the very first time I came across anything pornographic was when I was approximately 10 and 9 years old, something like that. A DVD cover of an adult film at my uncle's place. That traumatized me, and yeah, it's just not something I wanted to have anything to do with growing up, and it's not something I feel comfortable watching, really. And when I watched it, and I felt like, oh, I felt more attracted to men, that sort of freaked me out. And then I was trying to tell myself, hey, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gay. That just means you're a girl. Like such a stupid thing just to escape admitting to myself that I'm attracted to guys. Because I just felt shame of like being a guy and liking guys. But yeah, no, overall, never had this type of addiction really. Never watched this type of content. The only times after that I ever watched something like that is if I was in a company of people who were watching it and I felt uncomfortable. And there was a time where I was like really into gore, which is like very violent real life content on the internet. When I was younger, like in my early 20s, I was really, really into that. And some of it can be quite sexual. So, but yeah, I also don't watch this type of content anymore. Eirik says that would be cool. Haven't seen the one with Ole Martin Moen. It's a fun watch. They had some really interesting conversations there. Uh, um, Emily says withdrawal from psychiatric meds like Seroquel is difficult. Yeah, like I don't think people realize how much this sort of psychological addiction, how that's just how difficult it is, and you definitely feel it, withdrawal. But on the other hand, also I feel withdrawal from sugar, and let me tell you, as someone who has overcome uh, addiction to painkillers and Seroquel, I have a really hard time getting over the sugar addiction. And no, I'm not saying that I consume a lot of sugar all the time, but if I don't eat anything sweet for a whole day, on the next day, I will feel the strong urge to eat something sugary. And I'm like, oh shit, that's really not healthy, you know. Fonders asks, how old were you when you moved to Norway? I was 16. So now I've spent almost half my life here in Norway. Strange, because sometimes it feels just like yesterday when I first moved in here, when I was learning the language and then just found out how easy it is to learn the language, because Norwegian is a Germanic language, just like English and German. And because I knew English and I knew some of German, learning Norwegian wasn't actually that challenging. So right now, in learning a Japanese that is in a completely different language family, that is Japanese, it's actually much harder. You have to put much more work into that. Mm. Uh, Wasp Venom Lemonade says, if you have a book inside, you get it on paper ASAP. Um, what do you mean by inside? Like in my head? Yeah, I mean, I planned out this book very quickly, actually, after I decided to write it first. I did sort of a map out everything I want to include it there, in what order I want to tell things. Because it's actually, sometimes it's not exactly told in a perfectly chronological order. It's more thematic in some ways, but yeah, I'm trying to write it as quickly as I can. And as I said early on this live stream, if I continue writing at the rate I'm writing right now, by the end of this winter, like at the end of February or March, this book should be ready. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be much easier to get this one published than the one on philosophy of technology. Like I think there's definitely a market for that right now. So yeah, and it's like sometimes I have those days where I don't feel like writing, and I'm always trying to push myself to get to do that, because when you sit down, it's always like writing the first couple of sentences is the worst. And actually, I've been working with a storytelling coach, or writing coach, since this week. And there's something interesting she told me. She compared it to pushing a car that won't start. Like you feel this resistance at start, and then after you get it done, it feels smooth when you're pushing it. And it's sort of like that with writing for me, always. uh Whatever it is, if I start something or if I take a break and get down to write, it's always like the first few sentences, the first half a page is a monster to write. It's super hard, and after that you're just typing like crazy. And sometimes you also don't want to stop. You want to continue, if you feel this like almost high from writing. I don't know, at least I experienced that. Just this week, I was up till 3 in the morning because I wanted to finish this chapter. So yeah. Mm, I feel you on the sugar. Yeah, I think it's very relatable. I think people underestimate just how addictive sugar is. Or do you just like sugar? Well, me too. Um, Here's the thing. When it comes to sugar, I'm like, there's a lot of sweet things I don't like. I don't like most candy, for example. Like, I love chocolate. I'm a huge chocoholic. Uh, like dark chocolate and milk chocolate. Like with nothing else, just dark chocolate and dark milk chocolate. I really like that. But like most sweets, most candy, not my thing. I don't even add sugar to my tea. I don't like any sugar in my drinks in general. I love things that taste bitter. But even in my case, I think we don't realize just how much sugar is added to things we consume, sauces, things like that. And I cook a lot of like Asian food, and a lot of those sauces actually contain a lot of sugar. And unless you make your own homemade sauce without the sugar, guess what? It won't taste the same. It has this nice taste, and I'm like, you know what? I have to add sugar to it. I just have to. And processed food is also like super unhealthy. But I don't. I live alone, and I don't feel like cooking every single day. I cook maybe twice a week, and I'll have a meal for the day I cook and the day after. And then 3 times a week, I would eat microwaved food, something I buy in the store in microwave. And I realize, you know what, that's really not the most healthy, but hell, it's so efficient, especially if you don't have time to cook. It's like super efficient to just buy something and put it in the microwave for 5 minutes, and boom, there's your meal. Mm. Wasp says, "Watch out, because if you don't move on it, the writer block sets in." Yeah, absolutely, and I think the longer you delay it, the harder it is to get back into writing. And I think most writers have experienced that at some point. I have experienced it. Well, on the book I'm writing on technology, I had experienced it a couple of times actually. And on this one, I have also experienced it already 2 times since I started. So, it happens. But I think, the good way to deal with writer block is not like, oh my God, I have a writer block, it's bad. Stop thinking that. It's normal. It's normal to have a writer block. And it's normal to sometimes feel like you don't want to do it. But guess what? Tell yourself it's super fun, like because it is fun to write. And I think that most work is actually fun while you're doing it. I mean, yeah, of course, I think there are people who hate their job. There will always be people who hate their job, but I think there's just so many tasks that are fun to do, but they're hard to start. Keep telling yourself just how fun it is and how much you want to do, to the point where it overrides your brain. And that's been always working for me. And that's how I always get back on track. Cool Cat asks a very interesting and fun question. What do you think happens when we die? Oh, I love that question. Let me tell you, and this is not my opinion. This is facts. This is pure facts. There's no way you can argue against that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. But okay, so here's my opinion on what I think happens. Well, if I'm to tell you that, first I'll have to explain to you exactly how I view the world, like ontologically. what kind of things are out there. I think that there's energy, mass or substance, and consciousness. I think like those are three fundamental elements of our reality. And if you think about it, well, what sort of properties does energy have? Right. Well, if we learn from thermodynamics, the laws of thermodynamics, we know that energy doesn't cannot come from anywhere, from nowhere, and it cannot be come into nothingness. Like it's always equal. Like there's never less or more energy in the universe. You know, it's always stable, but it's always circulating. Uh, and you know, if your body dies, the physical aspects of your body, like the atoms and everything, right? It all goes into the atmosphere, into the soil, or somewhere. Like those atoms will form something else in the future. And same happens with the energy in your body. Like the energy in your body doesn't disappear, because that's not how thermodynamics work. That energy will go somewhere else, and so will every single atom in your body. I think the same is the case for consciousness. I think that consciousness takes on another form. And I think there's always the same amount of consciousness in the universe. Think of it this way: if you produce a generator that produces energy, um, and you destroy that generator, well, it will no longer be able to amass the energy within that specific generator, but that energy will go on to exist in some other form, and perhaps in some animal, some other human, in some machine, in a star, whatever. It's always takes another form. And I think, after your body dies and you stop being conscious, the same happens to consciousness. So in a way, you could say I believe in reincarnation. uh I think that's the best way to describe it. Except like Buddhists, they believe that the goal is to break away from that cycle of reincarnation to achieve nirvana. That is something I disagree with, because I don't think you can break away from that. I think that the circulation is exactly what it is. It is how the universe works. But that's just my opinion. That's just how I see it. Mm-hmm. Wasp says, write it, get it all done in 5 days. um, I don't think it will be possible to get it done in 5 days, but yeah, I will definitely get it done by the end of this winter. If I write one chapter each week, then yeah, I'll be done in February. So I think that's a good goal to have, to write one chapter each week. Uh, uh, um, Also, Wasp says, I love chocolate. If I eat 3 candy bars and walk up some stairs, the next day my muscles burn. Ah, is there a connection between candy bars and your muscle aching when walking up the stairs? 'Cause I never actually thought of that. I walk a lot up the stairs or up the hills. Here's the thing: like Norway is a country where you're always either going downhill or uphill. There are very few flat surfaces here. So even if throughout the day, the only place you go to is the grocery store, chances are it's 90% likely that either on your way to the store or your way back home, you're going to have to go uphill. And there's a forest, there's a hiking area, like I don't know, 8 minutes away from where I live, which is actually very typical in Norway. There's nature everywhere. Like the line between city and nature isn't that clear in Norway, really. So yeah, a lot of beautiful hiking areas. I like to walk, always going up the hill. So I've built really strong thighs, but just by living in this country, to be honest. And I have my bathroom downstairs. So I go down up and down the stairs multiple times a day. more like run, because I just think it's fun to run up the stairs. Really, like uh, um, a soda can has over 100% of the daily value of sugar consumption. Oh, it's a good thing I don't drink soda. Actually, I really hate soda, to be honest. I don't think that's something that you have to add gas to. Tastes good. Like Coke without the gas tastes like shit, and that's the actual taste of it. Nah, the only I drink basically three things. I drink water, tea, and coffee. That's about it. I rarely ever drink anything else. Well, if I drink anything sugary, it's either iced tea or iced coffee, especially in the summer. Uh, uh, um, Thunder says that's a very interesting theory. Thank you, thank you. It's just a theory that feels that makes sense to me. Basically, like over the years, I just arrived at this conclusion. But I'm always interested hearing what other people think. What happens after our bodies die? Cool cat. Have you ever lost someone close to you? Oh, wasn't expecting to have this question, but yes. So some years ago, I lost a friend to cancer. Fuck cancer, man. And just last year, I lost my grandma. Um, she had she went to a hospital to have a standard procedure to have her veins cleaned, and it's something she done already two times before. First time was when was that? 17 years ago, something like that. And she just never woke up. They killed her during the procedure, basically. Malpractice, medical malpractice, right? And if it wasn't for that, she could probably live much longer. And I always had a good relationship with her. Like she's a gamer. She since I was a kid, she used to play games like Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, point and click adventure games. She used to play Soldier of Fortune, Max Payne, Grand Theft Auto. Later on, she really liked Uncharted, and she liked TV series like Lost and Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. She was like the coolest grandma ever, to be honest. Just such an amazing person, and she's been gone for yeah, over a year now. It's weird to think about, but summer last year was when she passed away, and I still miss her to this day. And just this year, this summer, my grandpa ended at the hospital. He had sepsis, blood infection, which affected most of the organs in his body, and was just fighting for his life. And we were all just hoping and praying that he'll survive, and he did. And I'm just so grateful, because I really really don't want to lose any people close to me right now. Mm-mm-mm. Hair Peskin says John Denver, one of my favorites. Yeah, I mentioned John Denver before, like one of my favorite country musicians. Yeah, John Denver, cool. Like Alan Jackson and John Denver. That's like most of the country music I listen to. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of modern country music, really. What says I have an S box radio and can hear dead people talking. It sort of blew up my theory. Oh, I'm interested to hear more about it. As I said, but they're actually pretty tight-lipped about the other side. I think there might be censorship there. um, Hapaskin asks, "How is your relationship with your family?" It's good. It's really good, actually. In the last 7 years, it's never been better. Actually, I have a really, really good relationship with my family. Both my dad and my mom, and my grandparents. But no, me and my mom were super close. Actually, like super close. She's one of my closest friends. I think there's a lot of people who don't say it. A lot of people don't think of their parents as their friends. But yeah, my mom is my friend. Kulka says, "Oh, I lost my grandpa on his birthday this year, so I asked. It was my first loss. I don't know. I don't have a dad, so he was like my dad. Man, I'm so sorry for your loss. I think it's never easy to lose someone close to you, and I don't think it gets any easier. Uh, the next time it happens, it always hurts. Even though I've only experienced like the loss of someone close to me 2 times, but both times, like it stings, and I've met people who were absolutely destroyed by loss and grief. So, Cool Cat also asks, "Did you like school?" Um, Not really. um, did I like learning? Yes, absolutely. I always loved learning. I was very curious since very young age. Like at the age of 3, I wanted to learn to read and count, and I did that at that age. My grandpa taught me, actually, and just I was so super curious. I wanted to learn things, so I've learned a lot about like geography and nature at a very young age, even before I started school. So the first years of school were really boring because that was stuff I already knew. Like I really didn't see the point of school. I found it boring. And then later on, I think in some of like school almost killed my passion for learning because every time I try to like share my knowledge or discuss something interesting with the teacher, I would hear, "Stay in your lane, stay on your level," basically. So like the teachers never appreciated it if I wanted to learn something from like higher level of education and talk about it to the teacher. They never liked it, basically. And I just learned to just shut up and be quiet at school eventually. Um, I found schools to be super toxic. I think that schools sort of want us to conform. I don't think. Sure, I mean, I think there are schools who do that. I don't think you can put it all in one box. There's a lot of schools out there, a lot of teachers that don't teach kids to think critically, who don't inspire kids to actually follow what interests them and help them develop that interest and passion and pursue it. Subjects that interest them. It's all done by the book. It's like very soulless. That's how I found school, always soulless. And then in middle school, I've encountered a lot of bullying, so I hated school even more. And when I got to university, I was thinking like, it's gonna be different. So I studied philosophy at a university, and I didn't like it. And it's weird because philosophy is my favorite thing in the world. Basically, I live and breathe philosophy. Uh, Philosophy is flirting to me. Like that. Like that's how I flirt. I talk philosophy with people in my daily life, and everybody knows that. Well, if I'll be around, I'll be talking about philosophy. That's why nobody invites me to the parties. But so, what was it like to study philosophy? I liked philosophy, but I didn't like studying. I thought, university is gonna be different, but nah. It still has that same school vibe that I really didn't like, and I'm actually happier when I'm outside of university. At first, I actually wanted to become a professor and work there, but I've changed my mind about that. Mm. Maxwell Smart says, "You're very handsome." Thank you. I'm doing my best to be. No, I'm actually not taking any effort, but I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Uh, Cool Cat says, "You were smarter than the teacher." Um, Thanks. I've been in situations where I've corrected teachers about some things, and teachers hate that when you do that. Um, but I remember my English teacher when he was talking about a book, a very well known book, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with it. Maybe Brave New World, a classic, absolute classic, like dystopian novel by Aldous Huxley. And basically, he said it's about robot invasion. I was like, what? What? I don't think he actually did read the book. I corrected him on that. He got very angry with me for doing that, and eventually said, "Well, I didn't read it." I was like, "Well, yeah, obviously." uh, uh, um, yeah, so I think I had a lot of those kinds of experiences, and another thing about teachers is that sometimes they can be blind to what is actually happening at school, like bullying and stuff like that. And I don't know if it ever happened to you, but have you ever been in situations where you've been pushed around, and when you finally fought back, you had to face consequences for that, because that's what the teacher saw. Like that's what the teacher saw, right? But everything else, no, they're completely blind to it. But just this once, you decide to fight back, and the teacher's right at you, and like, "What are you doing there, you little asshole?" It's like, no, I really didn't like school. Maxwell Smart says, "Secure, confident teachers should enjoy being challenged." Yeah, in general, I think that secure people wants to be challenged. In general, I want to be challenged, and I'm glad and I feel lucky that I have a lot of people in my life who challenge me. That's something I'm really grateful about. And again, speaking of, it's actually a lot of those things I was talking about just now, about school and teachers and bullying. A lot of that is covered in the book. There's a lot of like small stories and that I actually never talked about on my channel before. So even those who are familiar with my journey for transition and detransition from this channel, uh, you've never heard those stories I have to tell in this book. and so, some of them are actually kind of funny, and there are also some. I think there's a part of this book, like especially during my teenage years in the early 20s, when you might start to hate me, or actually, or at least dislike me when reading this book, and I wouldn't blame you because I dislike my old self. And even when I'm writing those parts, sometimes it's hard because you're trying to get into a mindset of the person you used to be. And sometimes I hate myself when I'm writing this book. Oh my god. Um Kulkat asks, did you have any perverted doctors when you were transitioning? That's a good question. Well, that depends what you mean by that. I don't think I had any doctors who were perv towards me or anything like that. But well, this sexologist I've seen here in Norway, and I'm pretty sure like the Norwegian part of my audience will know who I'm talking about. Espen Ester Pirelli Benestad is a cross-dresser, or considers himself a trans person, really. But like, um, oh yeah, sure. Like, I don't care. Okay. But there was a documentary about him, and he actually talking about it starting as a sexual thing, like dressing up in women's clothes. So I don't know. I think that person was an autogynephile. Uh, certainly came across as such, really. And overall, just not someone I had positive associations with. Send me under knife after just 3 sessions together. Like I had 3 appointments, and after those 3 appointments, I wrote a recommendation letter to a surgeon, and that's how it goes. Uh, Cool Cat says my teacher got arrested at school. Oh, that sounds like a story I'd like to hear. Maxwell Smart asks, "You're writing a book?" Yes, I'm writing 2 books actually. I'm writing one book that's based on the story of my life, my journey through the transition, as well as my reflections on it, what I learned from that, and with a lot of focus on research on this subject as well. And the second book I'm writing about is on the topic of technological development, technological evolution. And not only currently what we're facing, but from a more ontological, metaphysical perspective, as well as a bit of a cosmic perspective, like connecting the patterns in technological evolution with the evolution of the universe. And there aren't many authors that actually do that. Really, there's only a few books that cover that, and it's actually one of my favorite uh, subjects to explore. It's philosophy of technology and astrophysics, and so I sort of combined the two in this book. And I'm definitely going to write more after I'm done with these 2 books. I have plan on a book that is going to be more of an anarchist manifesto. I definitely want to write one book on the subject of God, the existence of God, and I would definitely like to write a novel. I have an idea for a novel, a satirical novel. Uh, I don't want to reveal too much, but I think after I'm done writing these 2 books, I definitely want to write like a satirical, funny novel based in like a more dystopian version of our own reality, with like a super conformity and influencer based society, something like that, where there's no room for individuality. I think that would be such an interesting theme to explore from a more satirical, comedic perspective. So I have the whole story and all the characters basically mapped out in my head. Uh, but because I want to finish these two books first, this is something I'm going to do later. Founder says we had a sexologist visit our school recently where she stated you could change gender day by day. The times we're living in, like the times we're living in. Um, what can I say? Yeah, I think that's the main narrative most sexologists are telling kids these days, really. And I think will there be some kids who will listen to that who actually are trans, who actually would go to transition? Yes, but that's like a small percentage, right? But I think if you talk so much about it at schools, I think it becomes interesting to kids who otherwise wouldn't even entertain it. Like it will be of no relevance for there, or they or there are actually kids who might be confused by hearing all that. Maxwell Smart says, "Well, that's admirable. Both topics are interesting. Thank you. Have you written a book before? Just a poetry, or well, it depends what you mean by written, because I think there's a difference between written and published. I've published a poetry book here in Norway back in 2016, or was it 17? Yeah, somewhere around that time, like 7 years ago. Um, but like written and not published, I wrote a lot of novels just for myself. Never published them or anything like that, but I've been writing basically since my teenage years, and I've also been writing film scripts just for myself, really. And would also love to make a film in the future. It's very unlikely I'll ever have the funds and the opportunity to do so. But if that ever happens, hell yeah, I'm making a psychological horror film. Um, been writing my whole life, basically. But the book on technology is practically like the first book I'm writing that is nonfiction. And same with the transition. Actually, it's still very much like a storytelling narrative book, but it's also nonfiction. So it's the first time I'm writing anything nonfiction that is like long format. Because like shorter essays and articles, yeah, I've done that. Wrote a lot of that on the subject of philosophy before, especially during my years at the university, and a little bit after that. But yeah, anything like this long format that is nonfiction, no. But yeah, no, I don't think it makes it any more difficult. I think in many ways nonfiction is actually easier to write than fiction. Much easier. Uh, uh, Father says it's a folk high school, so most students are around 18, 22 age group. Oh, okay. So I had this a completely different picture in my head with like small kids and sexologists telling them they can change their gender day by day. Uh, but yeah, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. At least young adults are not as impressionable as young kids. Uh, but still, uh, Maxwell Smart says write a screenplay and sell it. Maybe one day, I never like I think I always have some project going on, to be honest, and I think it's important because I need to have something to do. I really need to have need to have something to occupy myself with. It really helps me in many ways. And I think it makes life meaningful too, sort of. But yeah, no, I mean, writing publishing a screenplay one day would be great. And you know what? Oh, let me tell you, when I was visiting my old house in Poland last year, when we were at my grandma's funeral, I found my old writings for like time when I was 13, 14, something like that. You know, it's so charmful reading stuff like that. It's nice, but you also end up laughing at yourself a bit, like, oh, how could I write that? So how could I think that was good? But yeah, I think that's a sign that you have evolved quite a lot, both as a person and as a writer. I don't think anyone is, well, maybe with few exceptions, but almost no one is a good writer when they're a kid or a teenager. But if they show interest in that at that young age, and already want to get do something with the skills they have, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think that's beautiful in some way, even though sometimes it's funny to look at that. And once I even found my old writings from the time when I was 8, and that was actually the first novel I was ever writing when I was 8. So I was writing this novel about this being that was half a dragon and half a human, who was like growing up and trying to live a normal life, go to school, have friends and stuff like that. But he was actually half a dragon and had to hide it, like stuff like he could breathe fire and stuff like that, and eventually ended up saving the whole town. And yeah, that I was 8 when I wrote that. And I couldn't stop laughing when I was reading that. So yeah, it's super fun. Okay, should we stop here, or do you want to continue with this live stream? Because I think yeah, I think I should probably get done soon. But before we finish, I'll be posting a video on YouTube in just a couple of days, maybe tomorrow if I'm done with it. I wanted to be done with it this weekend, but it requires quite a lot of editing. Even though the video isn't long, there's a lot of editing going to it, and it's like nothing I've ever done before on this channel. Um, if you, I don't know how many of you guys enjoyed sort of my like shorter, more like comedy oriented videos. I did one with like a appointment at a psychiatrist. I did one with like gender fluid, how to fix the pride flag, and what like look maxing, a guide to look maxing. I did like a couple of those weird funny videos. It's something in that direction, but it's just so different. And I promise you, you've never seen me having this much fun in a video as I was having in this video I was recording this Friday. And I can't wait to show it to you. I think you're either gonna hate it or you're gonna love it, like, because I don't always like to be serious. Actually, I like to have fun. Yeah. Thunders asks, ever considered making a Discord server? Um. Yeah, actually, funny that you're asking, because the first time I started thinking about it was this week. actually, like earlier this week, like Tuesday, something like that. So yes, the thought crossed my mind. I think that might be fun. I can't promise I'll be active there because I'm not particularly active on Discord, to be honest. I mean, I don't think there are any platforms where I'm particularly active other than YouTube, like making videos here and sometimes responding to your comments. But and sometimes once in a blue moon I'll post something on Twitter that is not a link to my YouTube videos. Generally, like, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, uh, but maybe that could be a good excuse to do so. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Okay, thank you, all of you, really, for joining us, or me. I'm just one person. I haven't developed dissociative disorder yet. Uh, okay, before we finish, just want to read this last comment. You have some pretty interesting takes. Love listening to your videos while gaming. Oh, interesting. Huh. I never thought that anyone like game and watch my videos at the same time. That's interesting. I don't think I could do that because when I'm playing video games, for me, it's like reading a book. It's like uh, full focus on that, and the games I'm playing are very like story and character based. So I get immersed in that. I don't think I could be like doing anything else while playing video games. But I was really thinking about starting playing video games on Twitch and streaming. That would be really fun. Just I mean, I don't think I have the capacity to like do so many things right now with YouTube and writing. I wish I did though, because I would like to do that. And also, I was considering, yeah, like just recently, I was considering starting a another YouTube channel where I could do like film reviews and video game reviews, where I could just talk about films and games and music and stuff like that. Do ranking lists of like the best horror movies of 70s, stuff like that. Would love to do something like that, for a change. But I don't know. I can handle having two channels right now, unfortunately. Just multitaskable games like Peggle or driving mindlessly in GTA or leveling Pokemon. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Cool Cat asks, how can someone get to your heart? It's through the stomach, baby. It's always through the stomach. I'm a foodie. I don't think there's anything more I love than someone cooking for me. Like, I will fall in love with anyone who cooks delicious food, basically. And I love cooking myself. Actually, I always cook for my family. For I love cooking for my family. It's a good thing my mom doesn't think like me, or else she would fall in love with me. That would be kind of awkward. But yeah, it's definitely for the stomach. Thunder says, have you ever talked to Marcus Dib? No, I've actually talked early on this live stream that I would love to talk to him. I think I might send him a message on Twitter, invite him to my channel to talk. Because, yeah, I would love to talk to Marcus. Absolutely. Okay. I think I've said the live stream's over like 3 times now. So I think we're going to stop here. And I'm going to have some, because it's 9:25 in here. So I think I want to just have some rest and maybe eat something, maybe watch something before I go to sleep this evening. And it was lovely talking to you all. Okay, I have to read this one comment. I have more of a crush on you after this stream. Remember, I'm not real. Okay, I'm just an AI. Keep that in mind. Okay. Okay. Bye, everyone. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'll do another live stream, maybe in November or December. Bye.